Hello friends and welcome to another painting stream. Good morning. It is Sunday and here I am. I'm gonna do some streaming. This angle is gonna catch a lot of that window. That's fine. Anyways, yeah, welcome to the stream. Welcome to a bonus Sunday stream. At some point, I won't do a Sunday stream, and that will make this into the bonus. But yeah, I have the time today, and I wanted to get some work done, and I want to be able to hang out with you folks in chat. So here I am, and here this piece is that I've been working on for the past week, and it is, you can tell just looking at it here, very shiny. Very shiny. Let's go to overhead cam, and let's talk about what is going on here, because this is kind of distressing to me. So yesterday we used this quick shade, this dark tone quick shade, to put a wash on this figure, and I mean, I like the way it brought out the detail here. It looks really good, but it's also, as you can see, very shiny. It's actually still slightly tacky too. Yeah. So, like I've said, these streams are a learning experience, and I'm trying to learn new techniques and work with new materials and stuff like that. And this particular dark tone quick shade, obviously cannot be used in the way that I used it, or should not be used in the way that I used it. I went kind of whole hog because I was trying to get this whole piece, get a wash over this whole piece within a 1 hour period on Friday before I went to pick up my car, which I did. I have a car now. I have a car that works, which is exciting. But because I was rushing, I kind of slopped the wash on here, and it's still, yeah, it's still tacky. Maybe if I wait for it to dry a little more, it'll be less awful. I don't know. I'm frustrated. My thinking though is, yeah, maybe I just need to dab it, and that'll introduce some irregularities that'll reduce the glossiness of it. So this is an important lesson for the future. In the future, if I'm using this particular quick shade, I need to be a little more frugal. I need to be a little more careful in the application of the wash, because if I just slap it on there every which way, yes, it gets into the cracks and crannies and gives the definition I want to the model, but it also leaves behind a shiny, glossy finish, which is definitely not what I was going for here. I just don't like that. It makes it look like plastic, and the whole point of getting all this paint on here is make it look less plasticky. Anyways, I don't know. I don't know if I should let it dry some more. It's been drying for 48 hours now, 47 hours. That should be enough time. I think I'm gonna try and dry brush some additional paint on and see if that will reduce the shininess of the highlights. It's worth a try at least. And it can add some contrast to the model. So let's see what happens if I do. It's okay to have the shiny on the bits that would be metal. That's fine. It's actually a glossy paint under there anyways. But right now it looks like the whole thing has been out in the rain. It's not the look I was going for. So let's see if I can do something about that. But compare and contrast these steps here, which are this color here, plus the wash. Yes, it brings out the detail, like compared to here, but it also makes it look a lot more plastic. It's not what I was going for. All right. I'm also eventually going to seal this with a matte varnish, and that might decrease the glossiness of it, but probably not much. The whole point of the matte varnish is that it's largely transparent, and whatever irregularities are in the model will continue to be evident. Anyways, let's move this out of the way. And I'm going to start work on the steps here. And what I'm going to do is, do I have my, yeah. I have this fur brown, which is a sort of reddish brown. It's a little lighter than the brown here. It's also a very thin paint. I've used it before, and it goes well as a sort of a top, a finisher. So let's try that, and let's get a dry brush and see what happens. This is a Wargamer small dry brush, and if you've watched me do dry brushing before, you're familiar with this. This is sort of a long flat edge that's good for dry brushing, which is to say good for getting just a little paint on the tip of the brush and then hitting the raised surfaces with it. And I'm thinking, if I do this, it's going to provide some contrast to the deeper browns, and B, it's going to provide a slightly more matte finish and reduce the shininess of the model. We will see. I should say, thank you, Shiro, for the follow. I don't know if you're watching now, but I missed your follow on Friday because I was in such a rush. Let's find an area that's not so obvious and try just doing a quick dry brush across here. Like, I don't want to get it into the crevices so much as catch the top edges. I don't know if this is going to work, but it's worth a try. Man, this model is so tacky, so sticky. Don't really know what to do about it. I feel like I'm leaving fingerprints everywhere now. I am. Look at this. This is frustrating, slightly. Yeah, this is... Normally when I'm doing a dry brush, I'm trying to just catch like edges. This isn't exactly what I want to be doing. Not convinced that's helping at all. several things are going on here with this paint. It is too thin to use as a dry brush. It's getting down into the crevices that I just filled with a wash, so it's undoing the work of the wash. And I don't know that it's reducing the shiny glariness of it. I think I just need to put this piece aside for a while and see if this, I'm trying to get some of these fingerprints less fingerprinty, see if it dries anymore, because if it dries more, maybe that will reduce the shininess. I don't know. It may be beyond saving at this point, aside from just repainting the whole thing, which I'm not going to do. So I may just do some highlights on it anyhow and leave it all shiny and disappointing. Brr, frustrating. I'm really happy with the color choices and the painting that I did with it. It's just, that wash is so glossy. It's because I went so fast and put so much on there. Oh well. Alright, let's put that aside for now. Let's try getting some more paint on this piece. When last we were working on this, we were getting some of these boards here. Wash off my fingers are all sticky now. Alright, let's get my regiment brush. This one. This is that Wargamer Regiment that I've been using. And my flat brown, flat earth. There we are. That's what we're using for the stairs here. And I'm just going to finish all these stairs and platforms. Get something done and feel less frustrated. Well, it is a learning experience. Next time I use that wash, I have to go a lot more carefully. It's nice to have a good big pot of wash. It's got lots and lots of paint because I've got lots of area to cover. But pretty obviously I can't just slap it on there. Be a little careful. Anyhow. Not the end of the world. I am a little frustrated because I was really proud of that piece, and I feel like that is sort of the showcase of all the terrain from this set, and it's definitely not what I wanted it to look like. Oh well. Live and learn. In the meantime, I have 5 more pieces of large terrain to work on. So, as we go, we'll discover better ways to handle it. Hopefully. So yeah, I had to end my stream early on Friday because Amanda and I were going to the dealership to sign paperwork and pick up a new car, and I done it. I signed a bunch of paperwork, I owe a ton of money to a bank, and now I have a new car. Well, newer car. I have a car. So my old car was at a state where every time I drove it pretty much, I was convinced maybe this is the last time I'm driving this car. There were times when at a stoplight it would not move when I stepped on the accelerator, and just took some time to remember how to drive. It served me well for a decade or so. Actually, I think 12 years, I think we figured we've had that car. That's not bad. So it was time, and now I have a car that is less ancient. It's still got 50,000 miles on it. It's still a 2014, I want to say. It's not a super new car. It's like 6 years old instead of 12 years old or 13 years old. But it's half as old as my old car. And it actually runs. And it's got cool amenities. It's got a remote starter. It's got a moonroof. I mean, I don't know that I'll ever use the moonroof. Not being the sort of person to appreciate sunlight. But it's kind of cool. It's got Bluetooth, which is something I have never had in a car. So I'm figuring out how to hook it to my phone and do hands-free stuffs. That's going to make it a little safer to drive once I know how to do it. Yeah, I'm quite happy with my new car. And less dread is involved in my commute now, which is good. Anything to reduce the stress in my life is good. Also reduces the time for my commute, because I couldn't drive on the freeway with my old car. I had to take back roads, which meant that my commute took an extra 15 minutes, over 15 to 20 minutes more than if I just hop on the freeway on my way to work. So it's nice in that regard. I'm gonna get to work faster, spend a lot less time on the road. There are innumerable benefits to this new car. So, hooray! I'm really excited about that. Things slowly improving. Every day, I try to make some small improvement to our apartment or our life. Every day things are getting better. About 3 weeks away from being fully vaccinated, and then I'll be able to see friends and family again. That'll be nice. Do some cooking for friends, have people over. I've had a fair amount of frustration this week. But I have to try and stay positive. I have to try and realize that there are things that are going right. Concentrate on those, not the things that are disasters. Like how glossy that model turned out. I don't know what to do. I think I'll maybe open a window in here and leave the ceiling fan on, see if that helps dry it. Maybe that'll make a difference. it doesn't, I'll have to think about other ways to save it. If anybody out there with painting experience has any tips or tricks, I welcome them. Need more paint. Nope, that's the cork brown. There we go, flat earth. So, but today is going to be a relaxing Sunday. I'm going to get some painting done now. I play some video games. I've been playing Satisfactory because one of the streamers I follow has been playing some. He's been doing it co-op with his group and is miles and miles ahead of where I am in the game. But just watching him work on his factory made me want to pull it out and play it again. My brother and I played Satisfactory for a while when it was early access, about a year ago. It's still in early access. But less early access, I guess. So, want to play some more of that today. My good friend Insidious Pie is going to be doing a waffle stream later in the afternoon, so I'll be tuning in for that. Probably take a pleasant nap at some point. And try and have as non-stressful a Sunday as possible. Just relax. I already made waffles for myself and my wife, and that was nice. I love waffles. I hope I am not muted here. Nope, it looks like I'm okay. Just realized I haven't looked, and you're not a streamer until you've streamed for half an hour without turning on your volume. So I have done that, obviously. If you look back 2 weeks in this stream, you'll see the first couple of times I went live, I forgot to unmute myself. Painting in the kitchen. I just decide if I'm going to do anything to differentiate this ladder from the rest of the platforms. I'm feeling kind of lazy just making it all the same brown throughout. Maybe that's okay. So far, it's been a very peaceful Sunday. done. When I'm done with all this Warcry terrain, I can get back to work on the Warcry figures. Just mirror, there are a lot more shadows in my room today. Light is not as good as it has been. Possibly just because it's gray day outside and I'm getting less sunlight than I'm used to. So this Sunday stream, quiet. It's almost like some people do something on a Sunday mornings. I can't imagine what people would be doing besides watching paint minis. But apparently, there are people who have things to do on Sundays. Or they're sleeping in, which would be nice. I remember sleeping in, back when I was capable of such things. So this week, hopefully, we'll finish this piece and work on one or two of the other large terrain pieces for Warcry. I don't know. I really thought I would be able to get 2 pieces of Warcry terrain completed during my streams last week. I guess it just was not in the cards. We made some good progress on this piece, and the piece with the head is really close to done. Would be closer if the wash hadn't messed it up. Every time I look at it, I'm like, why? Why? It was so close, and now it has so much work to be done. It's just sitting there taunting me. But yeah, I didn't complete either of the big terrain pieces that I was working on all of last week, and I've still got 4 more big terrain pieces to go. I need to go a little bit faster. Stream harder. But every day, I am making a little bit of progress. Can't say I'm not getting anything done. I just haven't had the satisfaction of checking anything off my list, right? I haven't had that feeling of having completed anything this week. We'll get there. When I finish with the brown on this piece, let's take a look at the other large terrain pieces and do a little bit of planning. Think about what we're going to do with those and what's going to be required to get them into a state of being done. They're not as exciting as these 2 pieces, which is why I started on these ones. Maybe I should have gone in the other direction. Started with the pieces I didn't care as much about, so that if I messed up, like I did, it wouldn't be as disappointing. swear to God, folks. I'm gonna cry about that. I have to stop. I have to stop. One thing I'm going to do today, because it is feeling a little more like spring, I'm going to take the herbs that Amanda and I have been keeping in this room, because it is the cat-free room, and move them out onto our outside deck, because it's finally warm enough outside that they probably won't die overnight. They mostly survived the winter. I am not naturally good with plants, so did what I could, but they mostly survived. And if I move those outside, clears up a windowsill, and I can put this piece on a windowsill and see if that'll help it to dry a little faster. Crack a window. I can be less nervous about cracking windows in the guest room than in the rest of the apartment. There's no danger of our cat falling out a window in the guest room. She's not even allowed in here. See where I still need to get paint on this. Frustrated with Twitch today because, as you folks know, I'm trying to work on my follower count as indicated by that gauge over there. But Streamlabs, which I use to run that gauge, currently claims that I have 24 followers. My bot, if I do that, come on. I wish I could see without my glasses. It's very frustrating. Did my bot die? Did my Twitch bot die? Guys, this day is trying me. It's trying me. Come on, Twitch bot. What the heck? There we go. So, my bot thinks I have 25 followers. The gauge right there, says that I have 24 followers. And if you look at the details on my Twitch stream, it says I have 26 followers. So I don't know how many followers I have. I don't know where that's getting pulled from by the various things that look at it. But obviously they're looking at different numbers. It's a little weird. But I'm somewhere between 24 and 26 followers right now. So, good progress for the last month or so. This is the beginning of week 3 of doing all these painting streams. So, I'm pretty gratified and happy with the response to the painting streams. I just wish Twitch would be more consistent in how it reports that number. It's hard to say if I'm meeting my goal if I can't tell how many followers I actually have. Oh, this is an awkward angle. It's fine. Everything's fine. As usual, I'm trying to get paint in areas where few people will notice if it's not there. Yeah. Get the back inside of this ladder done. Front side here. This ladder is completed. Making some progress. Getting paint on the plastic. So part of my frustration this week, and I talked about this on Thursday, has been the USPS, the Postal Service. We use that for shipping cards from the store I work at, and it has finally reached the point where we had to stop offering card sales through Amazon and TCG Player. We've reached a point where I'm getting like 4 complaints a day about late or missing packages. It's so awful. And I know we are not alone in this. I know this is something that is affecting everybody who uses the Postal Service for shipping. It's not unique to Battleground, but that doesn't reduce the frustration. If you desire to purchase Magic cards through Battleground, you can still do so. You can go to store.battlegroundgames.com and peruse our online inventory and purchase cards to be shipped to you, keeping in mind that shipping could take a while in the current state of things. But we can no longer sell through Amazon and TCG Player because we cannot guarantee delivery within a reasonable time frame, and that's sad. And it's lost revenue for the store, which is upsetting as well. Small business, and we really can't afford to take that kind of a hit. But nothing we can do about it. Yesterday, for the first time in my life, I wrote to my congressman and both my senators to encourage them to work on legislation, funding, and censure the Postal Service management for mishandling things. Deliberately so. It's a clear conflict of interest. I'm pretty certain that part of what's going on is that Louis DeJoy owns stock in UPS and FedEx. So he benefits from the organization that he has control over collapsing or becoming less affordable or less desirable as an option for shipping. So he's lining his own pockets by destroying a piece of major infrastructure. Wow, that is so evil. I can't even. So that's been... Oh, I complained to the Massachusetts Attorney General, too. I was like, if you do any class action against Louis DeJoy as an individual, if there's civil action against him, which there should be, I don't know if the law supports it, but it would be just might be one of those situations where just and lawful do not align. But if there were civil action against him, I would gladly join in that class action on behalf of Battleground to try and recoup lost revenue. I just can't believe it's come to this. But I mustn't dwell. It's not healthy filled with rage quite as often as I am. So I should try and relax a little bit. And that's part of what these streams are about. Oh man, there's a bunch of detail on this ladder that I never got. What is wrong with me? I guess. There's more paint on this model than when I started today. That's good. There. Try and wedge the brush into these little nooks and crannies here. Good enough. Definitely need to consider this if I'm ever at a stage of building terrain. I may want to some surfaces before gluing things together. It's not an option in this case because I didn't build this, but going forward, I'm going to be building terrain for another store demo at some point in the future. Not that far off, hopefully. Maybe in the next month or so? Well, maybe 2 months. It's going to take me a while to get all the minis for this Warcry demo done. But at some point, I'm going to be constructing more terrain for a store demo. And at that time, I should consider, before gluing it together, what areas I'm going to want to paint that I won't be able to get a brush too easily, and paint those prior to gluing everything together. good for getting large surface areas done. But there are some areas here where I want to not get paint everywhere, maybe. We'll see. If I go outside the lines, I can just go in later and paint over it. But I have to save myself that aggravation. And of course, when I get in here with a wash, some of the areas where I go outside the lines will be obscured by the wash. The model and seeing areas I thought I had done and I haven't. It's a large structure and there are a lot of areas for paint to go. I wonder if after all this work on terrain, it's gonna seem a lot easier to get back to minis. Like after doing all of these large, wide open areas, when I get to working on smaller details and smaller figures, is it going to feel easier? It's gonna be like, oh man, that takes no time compared to what I've been doing. I'm curious, and we'll find out when I'm done with all this terrain. So much terrain. The next demo that I'm planning to build has a lot less terrain to it. So that at least is something to look forward to. Painting less terrain. Not that I really mind painting the terrain, it's just time consuming. There's just so much of it. These days, this painting's going to be completed. And on that day, I'll leap out of my wheelchair and rejoice. Oh, man. Forward to doing some more detail work on this piece. I'm looking at all these cool little bits. Oh, it's going to be so much fun to paint. Just have to get there. I should switch brushes for this. Hang on. Hang on. This brush is great for wide open, like I said, but not ideal for little detailed bits. That's what I'm doing right now. So just put this over here and grab. There we are. Good old medium layer brush. My Citadel medium layer brush that I use for everything. because I love it. It just offers me a lot of control. I just feel good about what I'm able to do with this brush. Much done today as I can, just so that I have less to do later. Today is very much, because I can't really do anything with that other piece until it's dry and not tacky anymore. I don't know if it's ever going to reach that state. But until I can do anything with that, I'm going to just concentrate on other things. Work to be done on this piece, so if I can get some of that accomplished today, at least I won't feel like my day has been wasted in terms of painting. Can hear it, but my upstairs neighbors are vacuuming and moving furniture around. Something that Amanda and I are probably going to end up doing in a little bit here. I want to get some vacuuming done. Because it's a good day for it. All gray outside. Good day for a little bit of spring cleaning. On this. So this beam that the bell is hanging from has these sort of bands here. I have to decide what color to go with those. I'll probably just use the same silver I used for the bell. Gunmetal. It's a good paint. Very versatile. Oh, hello, good morning. How's it going, Lobster? So, Lobster, let me show you my frustration for today. On Friday, I did a wash on one of the larger pieces of terrain that I have. This one here. And that was on Friday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. So it's been 48 hours since then, and this piece is still tacky and still wet and still very, very shiny. So I can't really do any further work on it until it dries. And I'm not super confident that it actually is going to dry. It just may be permanently shiny, and I don't know. It's frustrating. So we're putting that piece aside and trying not to think about how awful it looks right now. And we're working on this piece instead. Are we having humid weather? It is a little gray out. So yeah, it's a tiny bit humid. It's not raining, but it's not sunny and clear and dry. So that could be contributing to it. Anyhow, not much I can do about it. Unless I want to go get a hair dryer maybe. That might be ill-advised. Might melt some of the plastic. Just give it time? Yeah, that's the plan. These paints are acrylics, but they have a lot of water in them. So they're not water paints, but they do contract and such as they dry. We'll see what happens if I just leave it for like a week. If it doesn't, oh no! Jeez. If it doesn't dry, I don't know. I don't know what my options are. We'll figure something out to try and save it. Because it really is such a cool piece, and it looks, I mean, I'm very happy with the color choices that I made, and we got all the details that we wanted done. I rushed on Friday because I was in a hurry to go put the down payment on the car and pick it up. And man, this piece here is actually cracked. Oh, this day, it's not going my way. Gonna have to use some glue or something to make that a little sturdier. Whatever. Whatever. I'm trying not to be frustrated today. I'm trying to just relax a little. Enjoy a day off. Not let things get to me as much as they have been. And it's not easy. Yeah, I'll look online for advice. And your wash is too glossy. That'll teach me to rush, though. This whole experiment with learning to paint terrain and do larger pieces like this has been very much a balancing act, trying to figure out how to simultaneously cover large areas with paint and get the level of detail that I desire. Oh, it's tricky. Definitely, I am learning, always learning, so that's good. The skeleton is on the edge of dropping off. Yeah, that's just going to snap off. I may as well just snap it off now. There we go. We'll come back to that. That should be easy enough to glue back in place. I hope. We'll see. I may actually have cause to use a cool thing that I own. I can find it. Somewhere I have a pair of modeling clamps. That are intended for holding things in place while you're gluing them. I was kind of afraid those skeletons were not entirely stable. I honestly thought this one was the one that was going to snap off first, though. It is already hanging at a peculiar angle. Yeah. One of the cool things about Citadel plastic glue is that it actually slightly dissolves the plastic when you use it. So I'm hopeful that if I use that to glue that skeleton cage back on, the result will be stronger than it was before I started. And it'll have a little bead of glue there holding it in place. If it doesn't work, well, then this is what the model looks like instead. Meh, it's fine. I'm less fussed about that than I am about the glossy shine on that other piece. Goal for today is to finish the wood texture on this piece. And possibly do some more of these pieces, the stonework. We'll see how late I feel like going. It's already 11:15 here. And like I said, want to try not to stress about stuff. You can always come back and do more tomorrow. Too bad I wasn't able to get as much done this week as I would have liked. I really wanted to get 2 pieces done, and I've got one and, I don't know, a third. Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Gregor Z-Man, welcome, welcome. Bringing us one little bit closer to our follower goal. So you catch me on a day of a little bit of frustration. I have been working this week on 2 large pieces of Warcry terrain. We've been working on this piece here, which is very cool. It's got the bell here, a bunch of skeletons. This fella just snapped off. We'll glue that back on at some point. And we have this absolutely gorgeous piece of terrain here with the giant stone head and sort of wooden staircase. My frustration today is that on Friday morning, I did a wash on this piece and I was kind of rushing and applied the wash rather thickly. And as a result, it still hasn't dried 2 days later. And it's very tacky and glossy and shiny. I am really upset with that. But these streams are all sort of about me learning new techniques. This is the first time I've worked on large pieces of terrain, and hopefully I will be able to recover from that. That happens if you don't shake the wash enough. So the wash I was using is this, and I don't want to tilt it too much because I don't know how well it's sealed. Army Painter Quick Shade Dark Tone, this giant can. So we spent like the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes of Friday's stream stirring it. But yeah, maybe I didn't get enough of a stir in there. But I think it's because I was just going so fast. I had to get a large surface area covered, and I had a very short time to do it in on Friday. So I rushed, and as a result, now I have more work. I have to figure out what I'm going to do to rectify that situation. Yep, exactly. Learning experience. Exactly. I was feeling really good about that piece too. It's a fantastic piece of terrain, and I was really feeling good about the progress I had made on it. And now this is sort of a setback. So that's frustrating, but exactly, it's a learning experience. All of this week has been doing new things on stream. And you're not going to have 100% success on your first try on something. I know that. I'm just a teeny bit frustrated by it. Alright, I am almost done with the finer details that I'm trying to do here, and then we'll switch up to that larger brush that I've been using. So I think I've gotten all the little bits that I wanted to do on this. So we're going to go back to my brush properly. We're going to go back to the Wargamer Regiment brush that I've been using. It's got a nice big brush head, perfect for wider areas. And we're going to try and finish this top area of this piece, these stairs here. And there's some other wooden bits in the bottom. My goal for today is to finish that wood on this piece. And then we'll sort of look at some of the other terrain pieces that I want to do this week. So Gregor Z-Man, are you a Warhammer painter? Are you somebody that I should know? I don't know. You could be somebody from the Battleground community. But do you do Warhammer painting and terrain and stuff? $40K mostly? I mean, pretty close to Warhammer. Or to Warcry. I do have some 40K models around here because I have been very slowly working on my Tau. They're buried. They're behind other stuff now. But I have a bunch of Tau lying around that still need work. I'm just concentrating on, this is the Warcry demo for the store that I work at, Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington, and I want to get it finished by the time we're able to reopen for more people so that folks have a chance to play with it. It'll be good to have terrain in the store. I mean, we've got terrain obviously, but it'll be good to have new terrain. So I've been concentrating on terrain this week, which, like I said, is not my forte. It's not something I do a lot of work with. So, learning experience. Sort of trying to balance doing large pieces, balancing getting paint on quickly and the level of detail that I'm trying to accomplish. We'll get there. I am not a fast painter. But as I was saying before you followed, I think after doing all of this terrain, where everything takes so ding-dang long because there's so much of it, going back to doing minis will feel like such a relief. Being able to actually complete a model in a 2-hour stream instead of spending hours and hours and hours and still not having the finish line in sight, which is sort of what I'm feeling these days. Sorry, we'll get all this terrain done at some point, and it'll look awesome, and folks will enjoy playing with it on the table, and I will have learned all sorts of new techniques and tricks as we go. My primary takeaway so far, aside from maybe don't go so heavy on the wash, my primary takeaway is next time I'm doing terrain, instead of working on terrain that somebody else built ahead of time, which is the case with this, these were built by Serena, who works at the store. She built them back before lockdown, which I appreciate her going through the effort of building the stuff, but I am discovering as I paint, it does mean there's a lot of surfaces that are tricky to get a brush to. So for future me, if I'm working on terrain, I'm going to try and paint some of those undersides and backsides and insides prior to gluing the model together. And I do have plans for the next demo that I'm going to work on once I'm done with the Warcry demo. Not like I don't have enough unpainted plastic lying around, but I do have plans on what I want to paint next. And I'm really looking forward to it. And it has a lot less terrain. But the terrain that I am going to build, I'll make an effort to make sure I paint some bits of it before gluing it together. I am not a paint on the sprue person. I do know several people at the store who do that. But I don't tend to do that, primarily because then you're going to have the sprue bits unpainted, and you're going to have to carve them out and clean the sprue lines and stuff. And when you do that, you're going to ruin the paint job you've already done. I don't know. 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I guess those are primarily inside edges, though not always. Sometimes the sprue lines are awkwardly on the outside of things. I have a friend who plays Necrons and has been constantly frustrated by the tendency to have the contact point to the sprue be right on the top of the Necron's head. He's a bit of a perfectionist, so he has to sand and trim very carefully before he can paint the tops of his Necron's heads. So yeah, painting on the sprue may be more work than it's worth. I don't know. I can see an argument for it, but I also feel like it's not my particular way of working. certainly would resolve issues where there's areas you can't reach anymore. Definitely there's a lot of figures where they have cloaks or stuff like that that you can't reach the inside of once they're glued together. So those are areas where you'd have to paint them in advance. Ooh, you're putting LEDs into stuff. Awesome. That is something that I've thought about doing. One of my down the line projects that is in the far distant future, prior to lockdown, I got myself a Riptide battlesuit. Just look at the scale on that thing. That is something that I would want to magnetize and possibly insert some LEDs into. But that is definitely not something I'm going to be working on anytime in the near future. I'm really looking forward to getting back to working on the minis for this demo as well. I've got them all constructed and primed. So it's just, it's going to be fun to paint some minis when I'm done with all this terrain. I made sort of a decision to concentrate on the terrain because it is useful for more than the Warcry demo. It's useful just to have terrain around the store for events. And we're making tentative plans now. Still very tentative, but we're making plans for a small doubles tournament as a sort of welcome back to the store thing once we're able to safely host such a thing, which will be once all of the staff are fully vaccinated and everybody who wants to be fully vaccinated can be, wants to or is able to. Probably still have to require masks, but we'll be able to have more people in the store. So maybe July-ish is what we're thinking. So it'll be nice to have additional terrain for that. Even if it is fantasy terrain, it still works for 40K. I mean, you could have fantasy terrain on a 40K table. No reason not to. And there are folks who play Warcry and Age of Sigmar in the store, and they'll enjoy having some new terrain. So yeah, I chose to concentrate on terrain, and then as a reward to myself, I'll be able to go back to working on the minis. I've shown them off on stream before, but I have the base coats done on, excuse me here. I have the base coats done on the iron golems for this Warcry demo. They just need a wash and some highlights, and I'm pretty happy with how they're looking. They came out looking really nice. So it's going to be fun to finish them And then I have to work on the beast men. These folks pretty much done. Probably in a single stream, a 2-hour period, I can do a wash on those. Well, definitely I can get a wash on 8 of those figures. And then on a follow-up stream, get the fine details, the edges and highlights done. So they're close to done. Just want to finish all this terrain first, which will probably take me a couple more weeks at the speed that I'm currently going. And once I'm done with all of them, which will probably be, well, let's be realistic, beginning of June, at the speed that I'm going, then I can start on the next demo that I'm planning to do, which I'm deliberately being mysterious about, although I think I've probably announced before what it is. But it is not a Games Workshop product, but is another miniature demo for the store. So that narrows it down. Maybe you can figure it out from that. Noticing areas of gray plastic, and I'm like, how is that still gray? I already painted this area. Saying if I can't reach it with the brush and I can barely see it, I am the only person who will possibly ever know that it's not complete. Me and you there in chat. So, you're all sworn to secrecy. There might be some areas that I haven't gotten paint onto. So much paint. I have to buy more of this. Hey, welcome back. Maybe as a special treat to myself, piece of detail work on this when I'm done with all this wood. Because this wood is very monotonous. It needs to get done. I'm making good progress on it. It's just not that exciting. Once I'm done with it, before closing out the stream, do something a little extra. Almost there. Well, not really. I keep thinking about, like, how much there is to do on this model. Oh, I'm making great progress. I've painted a whole bunch today. And then I'm like, oh God, there's so much left to do. So much. Just surface area to cover. Love this sculpt though. Just simple things like the wood grain here. I love it. It looks great. It'll look even better if I can do a proper wash on it and not completely obscure everything with huge gloppy mess like I did on the other model. I can't believe I did that. Anyways, progress, progress, progress. We're getting there. "18 nights. Well, those are not small. I will say, having decided to do this on stream has helped, just because I'm, for 6 days a week for the past couple of weeks, I've sat down and done at least some painting every day. Some days have been shorter streams. I haven't got as much done because I've had other stuff to do, but at least I am getting a little progress each day, most days, except Saturdays when I have a longer shift at work, so it interferes with my stream. But getting a little paint done each day, every day I'm a little closer to having these models table ready. Every day, a little less gray plastic in my life. It has helped a great deal to have you folks in chat to keep me company while I do this. Because, like I said, if it's monotonous work, it's nice to have somebody there to chat with and keep me company. We used to do painting socials in the store. It used to be every Monday. And folks would come in and hang out. They'd bring their tackle boxes full of paint and gray plastic. And they'd build stuff, and they'd paint, and they'd chat. And it was a fantastic time. And then, of course, COVID. So, haven't been any painting socials in a year. And I know I am not alone in having brought a lot of stuff home to work on when lockdown started. And then, for one reason and another, get almost nothing done. Like, I had such ambitious plans. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have nothing but time. I'm gonna get so much done if I am just trapped at home. And then, no. Other things. I mean, it's not like I've been idle for a year. My wife and I moved into a new place. Our cat fell out a window, so we had 2 months of searching for her. And then we found her and she was fine, and that was amazing. And just, I don't know, COVID in general has been exhausting. It's hard to get motivated to do anything these days. So, yeah, this stream has been enormously helpful. And you folks in chat have been enormously helpful. And we're making progress. We're actually getting stuff done. A little worried that some of my Vallejo paints here I'm going to run out of, and they're hard to replace right now. Vallejo being manufactured in Spain, and shipping being what it is these days. Some of these paints are harder to replace. I should check the shelves at the store and see what I can replace and what I'm going to have to be frugal with. Because we've got a lot of gaps on the shelves in the Army Painter and Vallejo racks. At least Games Workshop, they've had some shipping issues in the last few months, but they seem to be getting better now. We've been shorted on some product. Like there's been some popular models we couldn't fill orders on. But I feel like the major dry spell is over. A couple weeks ago, for the first time since lockdown began, I was able to restock a bunch of the colored primers. They've just been unavailable at the Games Workshop warehouse since the beginning of the lockdown, which I think is a combination of shipping delays, manufacturing delays, COVID delays, and Brexit delays. Just a perfect storm of horrible circumstances for Games Workshop all at the same time. But it feels like things are getting better. Things are slowly improving. So that at least is good. And hopefully, Vallejo will be able to get another shipment of paints over to the US, and hopefully I'll be able to catch it before it completely sells out again. Restock the store and restock my personal supply. So I'm getting close to the end of today's bonus stream. And I call it a bonus stream, but apparently I stream on Sundays now. I streamed for an hour on Easter Sunday. I streamed for 2 hours the Sunday before that. I streamed for 2 hours today. It's not on my official Twitch schedule, but I seem to pretty consistently be streaming on Sundays. Anyways, as I approach the end of this quote-unquote bonus stream, I want to take a quick look at what I want to be working at for the remainder of this week. Set some goals, make some plans, think about what color schemes I'm going to be using. Because I started with the smallest pieces of Warcry terrain, I sort of nailed down my color scheme early, so I don't have to think that much about color theory or any of that. I already know how I'm going to be painting things, but there are some choices to be made in the pieces I'm going to start work on this week. So I think I'm going to get a little bit more done on these stairs here. Then we'll put this aside, get more work on it tomorrow. Made some good progress today, so that's good. And I will say, just doing some painting and chatting with you folks took my mind off my frustration with that wash, so that's good. We'll see if it dries at all. If it remains wet and tacky, and glossy like that, I'm going to have to think of some way to fix it. We'll figure something out. Or we won't, and that's just going to be how it looks. We'll see. Anyhow, so this week, we did get some work done. We got a bunch of paint on this model. Not completely there, but the base coat is beginning to take shape. Got all this stone work that I want to work on. We'll work on that tomorrow. The base coat, obviously, is completely done on that other piece. We did that this week, so we accomplished some stuff this week, even if we've had some setbacks. So this piece, probably base coat, let's say a third of the way done. Third of the way to halfway there, somewhere in there. So we made some progress on that. This piece, we completed the base coat, and then I mucked it up on Friday with that wash. I mean, I really like this model, and I really like the detail, and I even like how the wash has gone into this and made the cracks and stuff look weathered and really given it some life. It just needs to dry. It needs to not be glossy. Anyways, I'm going to put that on a windowsill, see if it dries over the next couple of days. If it does, excellent, and we can work on some highlights. But that piece is mostly done. Mostly. I actually have some small pieces that I finished last Sunday. So these little pieces here, I had done the base coat and I did a wash on them last Sunday and did some highlights. And they are pretty much done. So I've got 3 of those. So yeah, we made some good progress this week. For next week, starting tomorrow, I'm going to grab a couple of these pieces and work on them. So let's look at what we have to work on here. On the top, boards, which we've already figured out how we're doing those. These little stone things, which I'll probably just leave unpainted and do a wash on to make them work. And then we've got all these pillars and stuff. So those we're going to do in that deck tan that I've been using for all the stone work. I've got these little bricks here. Have to decide how I'm going to do those. I'll probably do them in that dark gray necromancer's cloak. And then we've got these metallic gates. And I think I'm going to do those in a sort of a copper or scorpion brass. So we'll use that brass scorpion for those. So that's just a matter of getting paint on the model. There's just a lot of surface area to cover. It's going to be more of what I've been doing. So there's 4 of these in different configurations, these walls. And we'll start work on those starting tomorrow. And see how much we can get done in a week. And if I can finish all of those, we've got a few teeny tiny pieces of terrain left. I've got these little wall segments to do. I've got a couple little fountains, just some sort of battlefield detritus to do. And then we'll be done with all the terrain for Warcry and can move back to the figures. Oh, there's 2 of... if I can reach them. sorry, 2 of these, which are just bridges to go between terrain pieces. So 2 of those to finish. Should be relatively quick, I hope. And yes, then we'll be done with the Warcry terrain. I realize that's a lot of work. That's going to be at least a couple weeks of work. But with your help, you in chat, and with patience and perseverance, we will get all of that done. So, I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to work on our follower goal, see if we can hit that goal for the month, and then maybe move on to a higher goal. In the meantime, I'm going to say, hey, thank you so much for the new follow. Thank you so much for joining me. We did get some work done today, even if we couldn't save this thing. Oh, this guy. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, have a wonderful afternoon. Hope to see you tomorrow, Lobster. Yeah, it would be nice. And be excellent to each other. And enjoy whatever art you decide to do. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Bye, all. It's been fun.